This is a story about when my friend H committed suicide. Ms. H and I had been friends since high school, and he was a very nice guy. He was cheerful and could say fun things, and although he was not popular with the girls, he was very popular with the boys. After graduating from high school, I went to a university in Tokyo and he went to a university in his hometown. So we separated and didn't keep in touch much. After graduating from college, I got a job in Tokyo, but he became a recluse. His father told me at his funeral that he had stopped smiling at all, which surprised me and my friends. When we asked him if something had happened at the university, he told us that he had gradually started to withdraw from the university around the time he entered his junior year. His college friends were at the funeral, so my friends and I asked them a lot of questions, but they didn't know either. But they said he started avoiding them in September of his junior year. We gathered some information and found out that around February of his sophomore year, his parents separated and his mother bought a house and he and his mother moved in together. However, I didn't think this was the cause. His parents had been lamenting their disagreement since he was in high school, and he had even said, "I hope they get divorced soon. I hope they get divorced soon," he had even said. One day, 3 years later, my friend S called me. He said, "You know, I'm going to say something really strange, but please believe me." He started out his conversation in a rather mysterious manner. He was joking. He was joking too much. "It's already been 3 years since H died. Don't make fun of me, okay?" I say angrily. But S said, No. I thought you canceled your cell phone after 3 years, didn't you?" Yesterday, I met G, a friend from high school, for the first time in a while, and we went out for a drink. Then my cell phone rang around 2300, and when I looked at it, I saw an incoming call from H. S had not deleted H's cell phone number because she wanted to keep it. Of course I had left mine. But I still couldn't believe it. "Did you try calling her back?" I asked. "Yeah, I tried twice, and strangely enough, both times I got through." At this point, I felt a shiver run down my spine. What? Connected? Does that mean someone answered? No. Mr. S started to cry. I didn't know what had happened, so I asked, "What? What's wrong?" "Hey," I could only call out to him. Mr. G called me next, so I know. "I'd know if you'd check with him too." He wouldn't continue. "So what? Tell me what's going on," I said, raising my voice a little. I shouldn't have asked him. After that, he said, "You call H's cell phone too. You'll know right away if it's a lie or not." Mr. S said that and hung up the phone. I was too scared to call. I wished I had not asked. The reason why I wished I had not asked is because my phone rang that night. It was H's cell phone. H committed suicide 3 years ago. We even said goodbye in his coffin. His mother was crying madly, "H, wake up. It's not too late." I remember her yelling, "Wake up." It occurred to me at that moment. I wondered if this might be something his mother was doing because she was so sad about the death of her child that she couldn't accept it. When the second call rang, I took a chance and answered it. "Hello, Auntie H," I said in a slightly trembling voice, and the caller said in her voice, "No, I'm not." I was horrified. I was horrified because a low male voice answered in H's voice. I had no idea what it meant. H must be dead. Then who was that? How did he know our phone number? Why is there an incoming call log from his cell phone? I thought about it for almost half an hour, shivering, but no answer came to me. I want to call him, but I can't forget what S said, so I hesitate. But I can't get anywhere if I don't do anything. In the end, I decided to call him. My hands were shaking and my heart was pounding. I turned on all the lights in the room, closed the sliding door, and the curtains in the room, and called H's cell phone from the incoming call history. I knew I shouldn't have done that. The sound of calls coming from the receiver, once, twice, 3 times, my heart was racing. 5 times, 6 times, 7 times. The call is switched to an answering machine. At that moment, H's voice starts playing. I'm going to die now. Miss H's voice starts playing. I'm going to die now. I'll leave all the sounds. I'll curse you. I'm going to curse you. I immediately hung up and threw the phone away. What S said was true. When I called, it was H's voice. It was on the voicemail voice, like it was taken before he died. I called S immediately. It was the middle of the night, but I was too scared to care about other people's inconvenience. S was apparently asleep, but I explained that I had received a call from H's cell phone, that someone answered, and that when I called, the same voice played, and S said, "What the hell is going on?" After that, he stayed with me until I calmed down. But the fear was still there. I said, "Hey, S, what do you think is going on?" I thought H's mother was a palm tree at first, but then I got a bad catch. I was too scared to look at it from anyone else. "Hey, X, my name." "Ignore it. Talk to me, Mr. S said, so I kept talking. But my hands are sweating. The cell phone under my ear feels so foreign to me that I want to throw it out right now. The sound of the phone being caught continues. After a few seconds, the catching sound finally ends. I wanted to get the phone away from me immediately, so I said no to S, hung up the phone, threw it away, turned on the TV in my room, put on a comedy I had on DVD, and continued watching. I stayed up until morning. And not feeling like going to work, I picked up my cell phone to call my boss and found 14 incoming calls. All from H's cell phone. All of them were from H's cell phone. The last one had a voicemail. I was getting a little bossy because it was morning and I asked him about it. "P. It's you, isn't it? Is it you?" I got a chill all at once. The way he laughed was just like the way H laughed. I immediately called S and asked him to go to H's house. He said he and his friend Ng would go with me to check the house, so I asked him to go and waited for his call. The phone rang at around 4 p.m. S's story was that SG and a friend from high school, went to H's house in the early afternoon, but no one answered. M was acquainted with a friend of H's from college. So they contacted her and got the address of her mother's house, also in her hometown, and decided to go there. However, the one at the mother's address was wrapped in ivy and looked like a wreck. It must have been less than 10 years old when she bought it, but it looked like it had not been cared for at all. And there were even windows with broken glass. It didn't look like anyone was living there. S pushed the chime several times, but there seemed to be no sound. So she knocked on the front door several times and said in the way she used to call me in high school, "H auntie, it's S. Is anyone there? Are you there?" But he didn't answer. Just as I was about to leave, I got a call from S. The call was from H. The incoming call was from H. S was so scared that he tried to run away and saw eyes through the broken window. However, M, who has no fear of spirits, said, "Please come out if you are there. I'll call the police. This is a crime." The person who had been watching went to the back immediately. After that, S's cell phone was called again. M thought that the person who had just called S might have only been able to confirm S's name by S's call. So he opened the door, which was unlocked, apparently, and said, "Hey, come on out of there, that would be an insult to H," he shouted. Then H came out from the back with a cell phone, and he was surprised. But the one he thought was H was his brother, crying and saying, "You killed my brother and my mother." He was crying and came at her, saying, "You killed my brother and my father." G immediately took him down and talked to him, and found out that H's mother could not accept the fact that H was dead and had not cancelled her cell phone and continued to pay the money. However, when H committed suicide, he left his voice on an MP3 recorder instead of writing a suicide note. And his mother found it and listened to it every day without going to work. The brother wrote in the mother's will that H died because he hated someone. He saw that it was written, "I regret that I couldn't find it," and he was going to take the sound source from the MP3 and change it to the voicemail on his cell phone and call all of them. I was the first of several people he called, and I picked up the phone and said, "Andy H," and so he wondered why this caller thought it was my mother. And he thought that I must be the one who had a grudge against my brother, so he called her several times. When S told him that I had not seen him much since high school, he understood, and SM and G tried hard to persuade him not to do this. However, when S and his friends came to the house, my brother was not able to see them. When S and his brother told them that there was someone there and that we had seen them, H's brother said with tears in his eyes, "I'm going to ask them to exorcise them and let them both go to heaven." However, S and the others were also quite terrified. However, it seems that the S's were also quite scared, and even M asked H's brother about it many times. I don't know the cause of H's suicide after all, but it was the most terrifying experience, though it wasn't a spirit I've ever had in my life, so I wrote about it. I was so sorry to hear that, but he called me right away and apologized. Of course, I forgave him. Currently, my younger brother is paying off his mother's house plus remodeling it and living there by himself. He originally lived in his father's house, but with his father's permission he decided to do so. This is something my brother agrees with me on. He told me that according to what he had found out up to that point, bullying didn't seem to be the cause and that H was mentally ill. We decided not to rehash the incident any further and not to involve others whether they wanted to or not. And we decided that we would not involve others in the incident. I don't think my brother would hold a grudge against Mr. S and the others. I was convinced. S said, he cried a lot when S said, "Your brother is not a person who bears grudges against others." He started going out for drinks with G, M, and me when he went back home. But no one has gone to his house yet. I guess it's because I'm scared plus feel sad.